Hi, so I'm quite bad at starting a project and not recording it. So my friend Ben, who edits these videos for me, he always tells me off because I sort of start and I don't mean to. So I have already started. It's a fence. It's going to take a while yet, but all I've done, I'll show you, is put in this corner piece. I've got a bracket at the bottom, bracket at the top. Initially I tried to screw it straight to the wall, but the wall's not particularly even or great, but that's worked. And it doesn't need to be perfect, it's just a good solid base to start from. And all I'm going to do is like a wire trellis fence. So, okay, for starting now, I'm going to do all the way from there, and then along there. Potentially well, I think all the way to the house, because the bit by the house I'm planning to put fruit trees there. I think I've said up a couple of times. So basically that's the plan. So we'll see what happens now. Yeah, just a case of cracking on. So got to get a post in. Now the deciding place is the edge of the wall. That's where I'm going to put the post in, because that sort of dictates the first gap. So edge of the wall to get maximum use of the wall. So I want to put the first one in there. Now, I know I'm using a spike here, but it's kind of a combination. So I'm putting in a spike next to the wall, but then I'm going to utilise the wall as well. So all I'm going to do, in this case, I just put a wedge of wood sort of thing. Now, hammering the spikes in should principally be quite easy, but it depends on the soil. If you hit a rock, you know about it. Now, in this case, I tried using a piece of wood, which was alright, but it kept kind of splitting. But it's just a case of swapping them as and when, as long as you don't get them wedged in. Now, I didn't do anything fancy for how the distance to do. At the end of the day, it's only a fence. It doesn't really matter if it's not particularly even. So I had these leftover timbers from what was formerly the decking in front of that black sort of gym building that we've got, and that dictated the length basically. So I'd have them, line them up and kind of measure as best as I could, and then cut the post accordingly. And surprisingly, every time I seem to do it, I sometimes think maybe I'm sometimes surprised at things working out, and every time I did it and it was kind of more or less level with the spirit level, I was just surprised each time. Maybe after a while I should just expect it, but yeah, each time I was quite surprised. So all I did, case put in position, screw it on, and I just repeated that process all the way along. I put in some angles as well, just again for extra strength. And again, I've got the wires. Reason for the wires is because it all pulls it in together and gives something to climb. So they're useful in strength and for things to climb up. So slight problem with the saw situation. So I think my saw cuts about 90mm, but this wood is 100mm, so it's a bit unfortunate. So sometimes I have to finish off, but it's fine. So all it's a case of doing is put the post in, repeat the process. Now every one I've used a spike. If it's next to a wall, I've screwed it into the wall, but a lot of them are next to the cages that we put in, the gables. So all I did was just put some tie wraps, which on their own wouldn't be enough, but everything combined, I'm hoping, will keep it strong and make it work well. So sometimes in life we get given lessons which we should learn, which we don't learn, and maybe we ignore them. So on this particular day, it was a windy day, and I should have probably learnt my lesson first time it fell off, but I didn't. And the result was camera fell. And it was the second time this had happened in this day, so I should have known better. And sure enough, this time it had broken. So my mistake. I should have learnt this lesson. I should have not let this happen, but there we go. It's fixed now. So back on it now. So I wasn't sure about putting the corner pieces in, partly for appearance, but then I did decide, because I do think they look quite good, and also they do provide a lot more strength. So it's got the screws in the top, but this just helps it, especially with being such a long span. It's worth doing. It's going very well. Just a side sort of note, I'm quite pleased with them. So I've made this out of some of that reclaimed wood. So I've made a welly holder there, and I've made a welly boot remover. So quite pleased with them. Anyway, let's crack on. So here's my box of things I need. We've got all of those again, and then the wire. So let's crack on. So the frame for the fence is more or less done. It's a good way of doing the fence because it is just the frame. You don't need to, it's not, no panels or anything like that. So it's quite easy to make. If it's windy, the wind just passes through it, so that helps. And I've used a variety of things. I've used spikes in the bottom, just because it was too hard to dig. It was awkward, so I've used them in the bottom, and they're sort of holding it in position. I've also tie wrapped where I can to the big cages full of rocks, so that'll help. And then also by having a piece of wood across the top, it all sort of like links together. But now what I'm going to do is do wires. See, I like the wires, keep mentioning them. Apparently, I don't know if it's true, someone told me once that it was a Sheffield inventor who invented it and made his fortune. But they're used, I mean, they can be used for loads of stuff, but principally they're used for, I think grapevines are used for a lot, also orchards for doing espalier fruit tree growth. So all it is, I'll come in close, you've got this gap in the middle, a hook one end, aisle at the other end, and you use these. So you screw them in either end and then attach it by wire, and then this just hooks on like so. And then when that's in place, you initially attach it as tight as you can, and you want these fully unscrewed to the maximum as far as possible. And then, so when it's, as soon as if you do it by hand, as soon as you like, it'll go a bit slack. It doesn't matter how hard you try, it always loses a bit. However, what you do, when you turn this, you see, so you turn, in this case, towards me, and you see how the screws come in either side, and it just tightens it up. And the good thing about this is, one, that'll tighten up there and then, and two, over time the wire just loses some of its tautness. So over time it'll start to slack again, but by giving you maximum amount, you can tighten it again. Now if it was a really long piece of wire, let's say more than, I don't know, 4 meters, I'd consider doing these either end. Today I'm going to try with one, partly because I haven't got that many left, so I'm trying to ration what I've got. I am going to get some more, but I'm quite impatient sometimes. I want to get it done when I'm doing it. So yeah, so that's today. So I'm going to do some of them. There won't be enough, but we'll make a good start. I go for the 2 mil wire. It's more than enough for what I want. It's really strong, easy to cut though as well, because you don't want anything which is too thick and hard to cut. I just use these things. So you thread the wire through these and back, and then just crimp it. I mean, you can buy proper things, but it didn't work very well. I just used some pliers and just squeeze it just so it squashes on the wire. So they work really well. I mean, I know I keep going on about them, but yeah, really good. So that's today's job. So I've already started some. This is one bit of the fence. So this is in the corner. You can see how they've been done. They're just clipped on and pinched. So I've done that on there. And I've done them quite close. Normally I won't do them quite so close, but this is going to be a fence. And the idea is that I want it climbers and things to grow on. So this is where I've connected them. So if you look at them, I've done them as tightly as I can, because over time this wire is going to still lose tension. And this means I can tighten them up. So all these need for maintenance, really. You can just forget about them as a rule, but they will get a bit rusty over time. So all you do is just give them a spray of WD-40, which fun fact stands for water displacement, and 40 was its 40th prototype. So yes, good, quick spray of that, and it just means that you can still turn them. It's only if they get really rusty you'll struggle to turn them, that's all. So I've started on this one, as you can see. So I'll put you down now. So I really do love the principle of the wires. However, you can't do too many in one go. I reckon about, well, I do maybe 2 frames, so that's 12 in this, 22 in this case, and then you got to have a rest because it's just hard work on your hands, and you don't want to do it and not do it right. So the fence is pretty much finished. Very pleased with it. As you can see, it's doing its job. Here is where the cages are. Under here you can see a few bits where they still poke out, so that will make it a bit awkward. Stuff will grow in the cages though, but basically along this bit here, so the cage bit away, I'm going to plant things like probably clematis, maybe towards this end I'm going to go for honeysuckle because it's more the woodland area. There's already some ivy here, which I'm going to encourage to grow along. So the plan is that all of this, even though, I mean, there's a hedge here at the moment, but the plan is that, because it's got the wire, I mean, you could go for things like ivy, Virginia creeper, but because it's got the wire, it's perfect for things like clematis and stuff, which you know, lots of flowers, very pretty and stuff like that. And I'll just cover all this, which will be really lovely, and it'll just make a really nice backdrop basically. So that's the plan for there. So this is almost like the wild side of the garden so thing, whereas the other side, which we'll go to, so this side, as you can see, pretty much finished. So this is where the laurel hedge was, so you can see it again. Now there's currently a trench here, but that's going to be filled with topsoil. And this side, so it's still going to be very wildlife orientated. This is going to all be a meadow, and even though it's horrible soil, it looks like actually that works really well for meadow. Meadow plants like dry, rough soil. So along here, but I'm going to fill this bit with topsoil, because along here I'm going to do fruit trees, pears, cherries, or anything like that. But the big thing about them, I'm going to grow them espalier style, which basically means you sort of grow them flat to the wall, and these wires are perfect. These wires are perfect for that. So all I'll do, I'll train them along, and I'll just cover all this wall, so it's going to look really It's going to look really beautiful. I'm really looking forward to it. So we're getting closer to be able to plant things, which is what it's all about, really. And then from that, we get the wildlife. Already getting more wildlife now. Birds are starting to peck at this grass, even though it looks like derelict, it's still better than the plastic grass. So we're already getting more life, which is brilliant. I hope you're enjoying the journey. I am mostly enjoying the journey, but if you want to comment, like, subscribe, that'd be great. Thanks very much.